2015, Elon Musk co-founded OpenAI as a nonprofit. He donated $38 million to keep artificial intelligence open and safe. 8 years later, that organization carried an $800 billion valuation, restructured around Sam Altman, the man Musk had warned everyone about. Nobody listened. To understand why he would launch a $150 billion legal war over it, you need to go back to 2002 and the first fortune he ever risked. On October 3rd, 2002, PayPal shareholders approved a sale to eBay for $1.5 billion in stock. Elon Musk's personal payout reached $180 million, a sum that could have secured a lifetime of comfort or funded a portfolio of safe bets. Instead, he made a public declaration. My proceeds from the PayPal acquisition were $180 million. I put $100 million in SpaceX, $70 million in Tesla, and $10 million in Solar City. The numbers were not rounded for effect. They were the entire war chest, divided and deployed. SpaceX at that moment was little more than a rented warehouse with fewer than 20 employees and a blueprint for a rocket that had never flown. Tesla was an early-stage electric car company with no factory, no mass production, and no proven battery technology. Solar City, run by Musk's cousins, was a solar installation startup still looking for its first major contracts. There was no safety net. Every dollar went straight into hardware, payroll, and research, with no outside investors to share the risk. Musk's decision was not a calculated hedge. It was a full commitment, an all-in bet, that these three ventures could break open industries dominated by legacy players. The size of the gamble guaranteed that a single engineering failure or market downturn could wipe out everything. The war chest was gone as quickly as it arrived, transformed into factories, rocket engines, and the promise of something that did not yet exist. The next years would test whether that promise could survive the reality of missed launches, production delays, and the constant threat of running out of cash. The clock was already ticking. 3 times, Falcon 1 left the launch pad and failed. The first attempt, on March 24, 2006, ended less than a minute after liftoff. A corroded nut on the fuel line triggered a fire, shutting the engine down and sending the rocket into the Pacific. The second flight on June 2, 2007, made it further, but a roll control malfunction sent the vehicle spinning out of control during ascent. The third on August 3, 2008, failed when a faulty vent valve bled off pressure in the second stage, causing the engine to shut down seconds after ignition. Each failure consumed not just hardware, but cash, millions of dollars gone, with nothing to show but lessons written in telemetry and debris. By late 2008, both Space and Tesla were running on fumes. The financial crisis had dried up outside investment. Musk's remaining capital, what was left of the original $180 million, had already been split, with about $30 million earmarked for one last try. The fourth Falcon 1 launch, on September 28, 2008, was more than a technical gamble. It was the last affordable shot. At 11:22 p.m. Pacific Time, Falcon 1 reached orbit, becoming the first privately funded liquid-fueled rocket to do so. The news traveled fast. Within weeks, on December 23rd, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. The next day, December 24th, Tesla closed a $40 million emergency financing round, barely staving off collapse. For a moment, survival was secured, but the relief was fragile. The pattern was set. Each breakthrough bought only a brief window before the next existential threat. The credibility Musk gained from these rescues would soon be tested again, this time in a new domain where the risks were harder to calculate and the stakes even less predictable. On December 11, 2015, OpenAI filed its nonprofit charter in California. The board included Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Greg Brockman, who signed on to a pledge that seemed almost utopian. Artificial intelligence would be developed for the benefit of humanity, not for private gain. Musk's public promise, up to $1 billion in funding, set expectations at a scale rarely seen in philanthropy or technology. Yet IRS Form 990 filings and internal bank records later revealed that Musk's actual contribution was closer to $38 million, delivered as a single restricted donation and never formalized as a binding contract. The rest of the billion-dollar pledge lingered as a public myth, never fully addressed by the board. As OpenAI's research advanced, so did its ambitions. The nonprofit walls gave way to a new structure, a capped profit partnership designed to attract outside capital. By 2023, OpenAI's for-profit arm was valued at nearly $800 billion, a figure that dwarfed the original donation and even the largest fortunes in Silicon Valley. The scale of this transformation, $38 million in seed capital fueling an $800 billion enterprise, left early backers like Musk feeling not just sidelined, but betrayed. The gap between the founding promise and the financial reality became impossible to ignore, setting the stage for a confrontation that would pull Sam Altman and Greg Brockman into the center of a storm. That sense of unfinished business, of a mission traded for market value, would haunt every step that followed. July 2023 brought a new front in Musk's campaign against what he saw as the capture of artificial intelligence by private interests. He founded xAI, bringing together 11 researchers, many drawn from DeepMind and OpenAI, who had grown frustrated with the direction of mainstream artificial intelligence labs. The company's mission was announced with a single line: understand the true nature of the universe. There was no grand unveiling, no months-long build-up. Within 4 months, xAI released Grok, a conversational model designed to outpace ChatGPT, not just in raw capability, but in irreverence and willingness to answer questions OpenAI's product would refuse. The launch was as much a provocation as a technical milestone, with Musk touting Grok's uncensored responses as proof that artificial intelligence could serve users rather than corporate gatekeepers. xAI's entry changed the competitive landscape overnight, drawing immediate attention from investors, engineers, and regulators who saw in Musk's new venture both a threat and a challenge to the status quo. The speed of execution, the aggressive recruitment, and the public framing all pointed to a company built for confrontation. But beneath the bravado, the question lingered: could xAI's small team and rapid-fire approach withstand the pressures that had already warped its rivals? The answer would come soon enough, as legal and financial battles loomed on the horizon. On August 15, 2024, Elon Musk filed a lawsuit in the Northern District of California, demanding $150 billion in damages from OpenAI and its leadership. The complaint argued that Musk's $38 million donation had seeded a nonprofit meant to serve humanity, not a company now valued at $800 billion. In September 2023, a last-ditch buyout offer, $97.4 billion, backed by a consortium of investors, was delivered to OpenAI's board. The proposal was rejected that same day, with Sam Altman and Greg Brockman citing the mission's integrity as their reason. The legal battle moved quickly. By April 2026, the conflict reached a federal courtroom in Oakland. Over 3 days of testimony, Musk sat under cross-examination, repeating a phrase that would echo through headlines: "You can't just steal a charity." The jury watched as internal documents, donation receipts, the original OpenAI charter, and the rejected term sheet flashed on courtroom monitors. 2 days before the trial began, Musk sent Greg Brockman an iMessage that read, "By the end of this week, you and Sam will be the most hated men in America." The case became more than a dispute over billions. It was a public reckoning over who controls the future of artificial intelligence. As the trial entered its final phase, the financial and ideological stakes hung unresolved, casting a shadow over everything Musk had built and everything still at risk. Tesla's numbers told a story that ambition alone could not reverse. A Yale study released in 2025 estimated that Musk's entanglement with Doge cost Tesla between 1 million and 1.26 million US vehicle sales over 2 years, a blow that translated into a revenue shortfall measured in billions. The company's first quarter 2026 financials reported a 71% plunge in net profit year over year, falling from $1.1 billion to just $320 million. By March 31st, 2026, Tesla's stock price had dropped 45% from its December 2024 peak. Analysts pointed to a tangled web of competitive pressures, supply chain disruptions, and a brand distracted by side battles. The opportunity cost was not abstract. Every lost sale, every point shaved off profit, traced back to decisions that pulled focus away from Tesla's core. The sense of drift lingered, unresolved, as the company faced mounting pressure to consolidate and refocus before the next wave of disruption. On February 2nd, 2026, SpaceX announced the acquisition of xAI in a deal valued at $1.25 trillion. The merger combined xAI's AI research, the X platform, and Starlink's satellite network under a single corporate structure. In the official statement, executives described the move as a way to unify artificial intelligence and global connectivity, projecting efficiencies in data processing and satellite operations. Within 48 hours, financial markets reacted with a surge in SpaceX's private valuation, while antitrust regulators in Washington and Brussels released statements questioning the scale and scope of the consolidation. The ink was barely dry, yet the future of Musk's empire and the balance of power and AI hung in the balance, with regulatory approval and public scrutiny still unresolved. By April 2026, Musk's estimated net worth hovered near $811 billion, a figure swollen by the merger but shadowed by instability. Every original xAI founder had resigned by March, citing burnout and internal rifts. The SpaceX and xAI deal remained under regulatory review, and the federal trial over OpenAI's charter was still unresolved. Leadership churn, legal gridlock, and the sheer concentration of wealth left the future of AI governance in question. Musk stood at the center, architect of an empire, but also the focal point of its uncertainty. Today, control over AI shapes markets, governments, and the future itself. As billion-dollar lawsuits and trillion-dollar mergers redraw the map, the question is no longer who builds the next breakthrough, but who decides how we live with it. The stakes have never been higher, and the outcome remains unwritten.